time moves forward, and so do we. Life follows a familiar cycle: birth, growth, living fully, aging, and, eventually, death. While some mourn the loss of a loved one, somewhere else, a new life is beginning. One life ends, and another takes its place. But why does this cycle always seem to end with aging? Why does aging mean we're moving closer to the inevitable? Today, we're going to explore the process that makes us age. A process so deeply tied to our cells that it's almost as if it's been programmed into us. From the moment we're born, this process gives us a protective shield, but over time, that shield wears away. This brings us to telomeres, tiny structures in our cells that play a key role in how we age. Here's the big question. We've known about telomeres for over 20 years, and we even know how to slow down their shortening. So why don't we have a treatment to stop aging yet? Today, we'll look at what makes us age, the science behind telomeres, and why finding a way to fight aging is much harder than it seems. Let's dive in. Before we delve into the process responsible for aging, we need to first talk about a fundamental mechanism: cell division. Over time, cells lose their ability to function properly, but living organisms have developed a way to counter this by replacing old or damaged cells with new ones. This process is called mitosis, during which one cell divides into two identical cells, and those cells can divide again, continuing the cycle. This isn't unique to complex organisms. Many single-celled organisms, like the one you're seeing now, divide in much the same way. During mitosis, each new cell contains an identical copy of the original DNA, making them perfect clones of the parent cell. So, if our bodies can replace old cells with new ones, why do we age? Why does this process eventually slow down and stop? The answer lies in the limits of cell division, and it's time to explore what brings this seemingly endless cycle to an end. We've just seen how cells divide to replace old or damaged ones. But as remarkable as this process is, it doesn't go on forever. Over time, something changes. Our cells lose the capacity to keep dividing, and this leads to aging. To understand why, we need to look closer at the very ends of our DNA, at structures called telomeres. These tiny caps hold the key to understanding why our cells, and eventually we ourselves, grow older. Let's begin with the nucleus, the heart of the cell. Inside it are chromosomes, which are tightly coiled strands of DNA carrying the blueprints for our entire biology. Every time a cell divides, however, the DNA's ends, called telomeres, get slightly shorter. Therefore, with every division, telomeres become progressively shorter. Eventually, once telomeres are reduced beyond a critical point, they're too short to protect the DNA. At this stage, the cell enters a state called senescence, in which it can no longer divide. This acts like a stop sign for the cell's life cycle, a natural process that explains aging at the cellular level. Think of chromosomes like shoelaces with telomeres as the protective plastic tips. These caps prevent the DNA from fraying or getting damaged. Telomeres consist of repetitive DNA sequences and don't carry specific genetic instructions, yet they are absolutely vital. Essentially, they function like a countdown timer, limiting how many times a cell can safely replicate. Scientists have studied telomeres for decades and discovered a mechanism that can slow or even halt their shortening, an enzyme called telomerase. Telomerase effectively refills its telomeres by adding new DNA repeats to their ends, extending a cell's ability to divide. Certain single-celled organisms, as well as cancer cells, often produce telomerase, which is why they can keep dividing indefinitely. In humans, however, telomerase is usually inactive in most cell types. Although turning it on might seem like an answer to aging, it carries substantial risks. For instance, cancer cells often exploit telomerase to multiply without limit, so reactivating it in all cells could have dangerous consequences. Telomeres represent both a blessing and a limitation. They protect our DNA while at the same time capping how many times our cells can replicate. Although we've made enormous strides in understanding telomeres, we're still far from a safe and effective way to prevent their shortening. For now, they remain one of the most fascinating keys to unraveling aging and the possibility of extending human life. It seems we already possess all the knowledge about human aging, and we even have a theoretical way to stop it. does that mean we're just a step away from a cure for old age? The answer isn't so straightforward. On one hand, it appears we might be. On the other, the fear of possible consequences means we must first learn to control telomerase. Even so, all signs point to us being closer than ever. For now, as we wait for that final strike against aging, I invite you to subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments.